Hi and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 2 of Travel Notes Australia. Now this is my little journal that I have recently made, and it's just putting simple notes down about our trip around Australia. My last one was about the most easterly point of New South Wales, and today we are going to go into Queensland. Now, it doesn't take us long from where we live to get up into Queensland. Um, and Queensland is an area that we have, well, just over the border, and Brisbane area, Gold Coast, that type of thing. We have visited quite often because we had family living there. So we didn't concentrate on a lot of the city. We don't really enjoy Brisbane City and that sort of area, the Gold Coast. It's very it's just not our style. But it's beautiful to see. There's some gorgeous areas there to visit. Um, we've done all in the past, we've done all the theme parks, um the beautiful Currumbin Bird Sanctuary, there's lots to see there. Lots to see. But this time around we thought we would visit um, the Surfers Paradise area and go up the Q1 Tower. Now, when we went on our travels previously, we have visited quite a few towers. Not quite a few, but we've sort of made a little list of towers that we have gone up. Okay, so our first, or not our first one, I'm not going to write these or say these in order that we've seen them. I'll say them in order of height. Okay, in Florence, we went up the Bell Tower in Florence. Don't ask me to say the Italian name of it. I did look it up and I was like, oh, can I say that? But oh gosh, it was only 84 meters high, and it's a part of the cathedral there. But my goodness, the line that we had to stand in to get in there, and then as you go up into the bell tower, the little stairway passage gets skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until almost two people can't pass, because you got people coming down and you got people going up, and I ended up having a panic attack halfway up because it was so claustrophobic in there. But when you get to the top, my family would just, come on, mum, you can do this, you can do this, almost pushing me up there. There was one spot there where I just froze. And oh gosh. Anyway, when we got to the top, it was amazing. Florence, the buildings in Florence. I know this is about Australia, but the buildings in Florence, they all look the same. They've all got the same sort of pattern. Anyway, that was the Florence Bell Tower. The next tower that we've seen in accordance to height is the Eye Tower in Sydney. Now, back in the day when we visited that, it used to be called Centre Point Tower, but it is now called the Eye Tower of Sydney. And it is 309 meters tall. It's got a revolving restaurant in the top. I've been up there a few times, and yeah, you can see all over Sydney Harbour, and it's just beautiful. Okay, our next tower on the list is this one here, the Q1 Tower in Surfers Paradise, Queensland. It is 322.5 meters high. So that was a new tower for us to visit, and you can see all up the Gold Coast, all up. It's just, you can see the photo on the table here to the right near my arm. That's the view you can see. It's an amazing view. We don't really like the city life there, but the view we wanted to see and just experience that. And it was amazing. It didn't disappoint. So if you're going through Surfers Paradise, Queensland, that is definitely a destination to check out. I can't tell you about a whole lot of other things there. We didn't concentrate on the city area. We did go for a walk on Currumbin Beach. that was beautiful because when you get to the out to the point called Crumben Rock, you can look back and see this city skyline, and that's one of the photos there that I've included. You can see along the beach there and see the city skyline in the distance. So, you've got some awesome views, awesome beaches, beautiful swimming, all that sort of stuff if you love all that in Queensland. Okay, our next tower by order of height is in Auckland, New Zealand. We've seen that in 2000, the beginning of 2019, just before this Australia trip, and it's 328 meters high. This sky tower is you can bungee jump off it. You can do all sorts of things in this tower because New Zealand is the fun place to go to do all those daring things. We didn't do that, but it does have a clear viewing floor where when you walk out on it, you can see the city street below, which was yeah, a little bit hairy to walk across, but yeah, it was fun at the same time. Now, we have been up the tallest tower in the world, and that's the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. That is 829.8 meters high. Now, this tower is absolutely amazing because you get in it and it is that high and you get to the top that fast that you don't even feel that sensation of a lift, how you sort of your bottom falls down. You don't feel that at all. You have all this eastern music that builds you up until you get to the top and it's like ta-da. It's amazing. Everything in Dubai is over the top. And I did before this have a phobia of heights, but when you get to the top of the Khalif Tower, it actually doesn't look real. It's that high up. Things don't look real. And I just went right up to the edge and looked over, and it was just, gosh, it blew our minds. So this these are the list of towers that we have been up. It's not many, but it's our little thing. And we'll keep adding to that, I hope, over the years of places where we go. So that was my heading for this page, towers, and I added the Queensland, the QLD at the top, which means Queensland, short for Queensland, and that's the state of Australia that we passed into. When you get to Tweed Heads, that's the border, and yeah, you go into Queensland. So while just as we went over the border, we um, we found one of the last Sizzler restaurants. We hadn't had Sizzlers for ages, for years, since we was like teenagers. So we thought, oh, yum, let's go there and have lunch. So we enjoyed lunch at Sizzler's restaurant. I don't know whether it's there now still, it's been 5 years now since we've done this trip, but it was yum. So, we didn't stay that long. It was just a day trip into the city. We actually got a parking spot right under the Q1 tower. And of course you've got to pay for your parking and all that sort of stuff. But it was really fun to see that and do that while we went through Brisbane area and the Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise, all those places along there. Yeah, they are beautiful to visit. But it's just not our thing. So we just kept traveling on after that. Yeah, and but it's just if you haven't seen Brisbane, in Queensland, it is definitely worth a visit. I will say that. It's just that we've visited there many times before, and it wasn't a priority on our list around Australia. So I've just got some stencils here that have a building skyline, and I've added that to my page here. And yeah, put my photos in. Got my acrylic pens to just do the little fancy headings, and I got a couple more stencils there and stamps and things like that. And yeah, thank you to the people who did comment on my last one. I had a lady actually in France contact me, and she said that um her family was coming, some of her family were coming over to Australia, and she wanted to ask me some questions, and that's fine. Like, I'm happy to answer questions or let you know what things are like here, and how to go about things. All I can say is our experience. Everyone's experience is different. Because we went in a camper van, other people, in a caravan or whatever they choose to travel in, will have a different experience again. So, yeah, it was, ah, yeah, I don't know. We just don't like the cities in general. We like to stay in nature and just the quieter places. But yeah, they're all worth looking at. And in saying that, we did go through some beautiful cities around Australia, which sort of changed our mind a little bit on some of the cities. They all have a very different feel. I mean, we've been to Sydney quite a few times in the past too, and Sydney for us, it's the oldest city in Australia. I will say that. And to me, it's the grottiest city in Australia. Um, We've been in Sydney, we've been all through the city, we've been over to the zoo. We haven't done the Harbour Bridge as in the bridge climb. We would have always liked to have done that. But we've driven over the Harbour Bridge, we've gone on the ferries, we've visited the botanical gardens, yeah, the zoo, like I said. Um We've done the rocks. Actually, my mum used to take us there when I was a teenager. She used to, because she grew up in Sydney. Well, yeah, she grew up in Sydney. She went to school in Parramatta and um, in all that area. So she used to love taking us on train trips to Sydney in when we were children, and she'd take us to the Royal Easter Show and all those sorts of things. So she'd take us ice skating and whatever there was to do down there. So we really appreciate what our mum did for us like that when we were teenagers. We just loved it. We had so much fun. So yeah, we have seen a fair bit of Sydney. We've got relatives that live in Sydney, and nowadays, yeah, the only times we sort of stop there is to see Dave's niece, and we just keep going. It's not one of our favourite cities, Sydney. It's a real pain in the butt to get around. You're better off going by train in there if you want to see the city. But if you've never seen it before, hey, it's beautiful. The Opera House, all around there. You can do walks all around there. It's beautiful. The harbour's beautiful. We did fly over Sydney. Um, when was that? That was Ooh, that was before we did all of this. We took a flight to Sydney from Port Macquarie to Sydney with some of our friends at the time to see Monster Jam, the American monster trucks, and that was our very first flight, and we were so nervous. Dave was so nervous that when we locked the house, he ran into the door, the glass door, and he put this big scab on his nose. And when we got to the plane, my anxiety was going through the roof. We're only going on a small flight, and we got on the plane, and I was a mess. Dave's sitting next to me with his big scab on his nose. Our friends were sitting behind us, just laughing at us because I think they'd been on a plane before. And the lady, the stewardess, she comes by and she's like, "Would you like some after?" I think it was afternoon tea or morning tea, something like that. Afternoon tea it was, and I looked at her and I was just like, "No," I was nearly ready to vomit. Dave goes, "Why didn't you take it? I would have eaten it." So I just sat with my head between my legs when we took off, and yeah, I thought, oh no, we have to get home yet. But the Monster Jam show was incredible. We had, where did we go? It was in a stadium in Sydney. I can't remember now. We stayed in a place nearby. We walked into the stadium and got sunburnt and but we had the most we didn't even realize what sort of seats that we bought. We knew where they were, but we had I reckon we had the best seats in the house because all the monster trucks ended up crashing right near us. It was so loud. We didn't take earmuffs because we didn't realize. I sat there with my ears in my fingers in my ears the whole time. But by the end of the show, we were just jumping up, yay, with everybody else. It was incredible. And the trucks, the monster trucks, our Australian ones have got nothing on these guys. They just went until they almost obliterated the monster trucks, smashed bits off them, and it was just incredible. Fireworks came off some of them, and even some of the guys that drove them would run into the crowd and give people like gifts and things like that. They even gave out ticket. They ran right up to the worst seats in the house and gave out tickets for the best seats in the house at another monster truck show, which was just amazing. Like, and they gave kids things, and it was just incredible. We had an awesome time. So that was in Australia, in Sydney, and yeah. So they're the sorts of places we've been to in Sydney. Um, we've been to other things in Sydney and Brisbane, like craft shows, other things that have been on like that. And like I said, we've had family in both Sydney and Brisbane because we actually lived halfway between both Sydney and Brisbane on the mid north coast. So, yeah. And so, our priorities weren't huge. We didn't actually even go in Sydney on our trip around Australia because of our past visits and things like that. It just did not include, um, it wasn't a high priority to have Brisbane or Sydney on our trip. So, that I'm really skipping over that section of Australia. Um, yeah, there's beautiful places, don't get me wrong. Beautiful beaches, beautiful places. We have been on many trips to different places in between Brisbane and Sydney in the past, and they're all worth looking at. If you've never been to Australia, the East Coast is the most populated of Australia, right from right up to Cairns, right down to up to Cooktown, right down to Victoria and Melbourne. So it is the most populated um, areas in Australia. It's also got the Great Dividing Range, which goes right down the east coast of Australia, and down the bottom includes all the ski fields and all that sort of stuff. Mount Kosciuszko, which is the tallest mountain in Australia, and all those sorts of places. So yeah, the East Coast, it's very different from the West Coast, which we have found out since we've done our trip. Um, Nothing compares to the West Coast and the East Coast. They are totally different, different environments, different everything's different. So yeah, if you're into the busyness of holidaying, um, visit the East Coast. If you want to get out in nature and solitude, visit the West Coast. That's my advice. But yeah, the East Coast has definitely got oodles and oodles of things to see. So this is my really skipped over version of Queensland, or the bottom part of Queensland. We did visit quite a few places going upwards, which I will include in some future videos. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed just having a look at that, and uh like my little entry into my um travel notes journal here. And while you've watched me just fill it in and put some pictures in and things like that. And yeah, if you have the opportunity to visit Queensland, definitely, definitely do it. We sort of um, we wish now that we had done some of, like, Bribery Island. There's Bribery Island. What else? Um, Morton Island, and there is what's the other island? Can't think of it now. There's a few islands off Brisbane, and we sort of wish that we had visited them. And maybe in another trip we might do that. It would be really good to see those islands, I think. And oh gosh, what's the other one? Stradbroke Island. That's another one. Yeah, you got Stradbroke, Morton Island. Um, what's the other one? Bribey Island. Um, what's the other one? See, the other one's changed its name. It's called Kagari. What was that? What was it called? I'll look it up. Yeah. I can't find it. Anyway, it's the island up there somewhere. Gosh, what's it called? Ah, where the Dave, what's the island called where the all the dingoes are? What's that island called with all the dingoes on it up in Queensland? Yeah. Yeah. That's it. It used to be called Fraser Island. It's actually called something different now. Yeah, it's an Aboriginal name. And yeah, so sorry about that. I just had a mental block. Anyway, they're the islands that we would love to see if we went that way again. They were the ones that we didn't get to see the first time because we sort of just skipped up past Brisbane, and we didn't really want to spend that much time there. So I hope you've enjoyed this little look at Queensland, the towers that we visited. There's a picture there in the middle of different towers, and they're comparing the height to different ones in the world. And I hope you'll join me for episode 3, which will come out again next week, and we will go further up Queensland in those episodes. So, yeah, I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you real soon for a new video. Bye.